Hi guys. So I had received quite a few requests asking how I made it through nursing school. And excuse me, my hair is flying away because I'm sitting in front of the heater. I'm currently on my lunch break at work and I am on a night shift, and I wanted to just do this video when I have time, since it seems like when I'm at home I just don't have time to do it. So everyone was asking how did I make it through nursing school with 4 children under the age of 10. I was in an accelerated BSN program. That meant I went from no credits to a full degree in 3 years. 4 years worth of school was crammed into 3 years, and I had to get through it that way. Yes, it was a struggle, but the first thing I wanted to do was tell you what I did. So certain schools you have to study for the TEAS test, some you have to study for the HESI. For my school, I had to study for the HESI test. Fortunately, the only things that were that were actually weighed for us was the math, the English, and the science. And when I say math, I mean like the basic math, not the more extensive like calculus and things like that. Even though some of it was on the test, but that didn't weigh. It was just the basics. And at the time, I had been out of school for 14 years, so I ordered the book on Amazon. There's a study guide, and they also have these really good study cards. Well, they're not cards, they're like paper, and they're laminated, and they're about this big, and it goes over a lot of stuff. So I took that with me and studied that and the book for like 3 weeks straight. I spent like an hour and a half on studying. So anyway, so I did that. I took the test. I got a score that was high enough that I could start the program. My program had a GPA requirement. I actually was accepted into 2 schools. The first one, it had a waiting list that was really long. Now, I'm prior military, so I was using my GI Bill. I needed to be in school. I didn't have time to wait for the waiting list. I needed to get in school immediately. So I got in school. I decided to go with the program that I was in. Unfortunately, it was a for-profit school, which tends to cost more. But again, my GI Bill was there. So I was able to use that for the first 2 years of school. So that helped me out. So I ended up getting enrolled in that program. Now, when I first started the program, I was told that you could not work a full-time job because it was so fast-paced, and you needed to reduce hours of work. Well, obviously, I was a mother of 4 children. My children at the time, my baby was 2. I had a 2-year-old, a 5-year-old, a 6-year-old, and a 9-year-old at the time. And so that obviously wasn't an option for me because I was the sole provider for my children. I had just came out of a situation with my ex-husband where I had lost everything, and so it was kind of not an option for me to not work. So I took that with a grain of salt and said, I'm just going to do what I can to still make it through this program. So I worked the entire time. There was never a time during my program that I did not work. I worked the entire time with my 4 children. While I was working on night shift, I did hire a sitter, and if I couldn't get a sitter, I was looked up to my community of people that knew I was in nursing school. So you can look at it like the churches, but a lot of times I would have my sister and my mother to babysit my children while I was in school. Also, I was living in an apartment at the time, and I had a cousin that lived across the hall from me. So if I was studying or anything, she also would look out for my children. So I know that's not a luxury for everyone, but for me, I was fortunate that I had some help with my kids when I worked night shift. And during the day when I was at school, obviously they were at school as well. And here in Missouri, my oldest was able to watch his younger siblings while I was, if they were out of school, like maybe had a snow day or something. Because yes, they would have snow days, but I didn't. So even when they had snow days, I still had to go to school. So that was how I was able to manage taking care of my my children for those years that in that accelerated program. So I went into school with a plan. The plan was to, number one, when I got into my program, sit at the front of the class. I cannot stress this enough. Sit at the front of the class. I sat at the front of class for every class. Even the classes that I didn't think I needed to sit at the front of the class for, I sat at the front of the class for it until I got towards the end of my program, and then I was kind of smooth sailing by then. But that was like the last class when I was getting ready to graduate. Sitting at the front of the class. Also, tape recorder, the little bitty tape recorders. I would take those tapes, and I would record my instructors' lectures. Now, not all instructors will let you do this, but I would do that. And if I couldn't make it to class, I would have one of my classmates to record the lecture on my little tape recorder for me. So when I was going to work or when I was driving wherever, I would actually listen to those recordings while when I had downtime, whether I was at work or whether I was at home or whenever I was driving, traffic time, anytime, I would always listen to those recordings. So that worked really well for me. And also replaying it, you might actually end up getting information that you didn't hear the first time. So that was a big thing for me. So I did make sure to record those lectures as much as I could. I also, what else worked for me was, first was sitting at the front of class recording lectures, also flashcards. So I will make flashcards. I lived by those flashcards. I made the flashcards, and I would take them to work with me, and I would review them and try to, learn the concepts. The key was learning the concepts and not just memorizing what I was seeing. So I would have like little breakdowns of things on those little cards, and as I would read the cards, I would try to make sure that I was understanding what I was reading and not just memorizing what I was reading. Also, when I would learn something new, after I got an understanding, I would turn around and explain it to my children. I use my children as little pupils, and I would turn around and teach them what I learned. And it has been statistically shown that that is a way to help you learn if you teach it to someone else. So when it was still fresh in my brain, I would learn it myself, and then I would turn around and teach it to my children as well. So that is also what helped me with them, using my children and then getting feedback from them as well. So that worked for me. Also, I drew pictures drew pictures and used little sayings to help me remember things, like I would say something like sepsis, and I would think about all of the things that entail sepsis, and I would try to make little rhymes for them. I really can't think of any of them right now because I haven't been in nursing school in 8 years now, but that's what I would do. And always remember things like that. So yeah. So further, another thing with my children, I would take my children to the park when they got out of school. When I wasn't working, I would take them to the park every single day. They loved going to the park. And what I would do is, while they were at the park, I would make sure that I was parked in a way that I kept them in my line of sight. And I would study in the car while they were playing on the playground. I would study, and I would be listening to those recordings and allow them to play on the playground. I broke my studying down into 45 minutes of studying, 15 minutes to breathe. So I would study for 45 minutes, and then I would step out the car and do things with them for 15 minutes. Because to study and just cram and just keep studying, I give your brain, time to breathe, it'll cause you to go into overload. So that's what happened for me. I would take 45 minutes to study, 15 minutes out of the car, either walking around or just pushing them on the swing or anything at the time. So that would work for me. Also, I taught my oldest son, he was 8 or 9 at the time. And I taught him and my second older son how to make light meals, things that were simple to make, like macaroni and cheese and Salisbury steak. So sometimes if I was not, if I was busy or I was studying, they knew how to make simple meals like ramen noodles, like Salisbury steak, or macaroni and cheese, things like that. So I did teach them how to make little simple meals like that, which they know how to make to this day, even though they're adults now. So that's what worked for me. Also, while in nursing school, I worked at the VA hospital on night shift. I went to school full-time during the day, and I worked full-time night shift. So I worked from 7 p.m. to 7:30 a.m. and I went to school. Well, the hours vary because some days I had clinical, some days I had work. So for me, like I said, it was never an option for me to stop working because I had 4 children to feed and a household to maintain. And even with the VA, even with my GI bill paying for my college, it still is not enough for me to take care of my 4 children. And so what I would do is I ended up working as a sitter a lot in the hospital. Even if I wasn't working as a sitter, I would take the time. I worked night shift specifically because whenever there was downtime, I used that time to study. I would try to get information or input from the nurses that I worked with, and help to understand it. So it really helped me working in the medical field as a CNA before I graduated nursing school. It also taught me a lot of the basics, things that I would know things that I would need to know in nursing school as well. So that really helped me a lot. So I continued to work full-time night shift until December 3rd, 2015. And I graduated from my program on December the 12th. I'll be doing some more videos just to go over like my day-to-day life while I was in nursing school. I'm actually in school again now. This time I'm trying to go for my doctorate, so we'll see how that goes. But anyway, I am currently on lunch like I told you all, so I will be posting more videos later. And if you have any questions, feel free to message me or send, or comment, and I'll get back to you, and I'll either address it directly or I'll make another video about it. But so this is just the basics on what worked for me and how I was able to raise 4 children while I was in nursing school. Oh, let me tell you, I promised my kids when I graduated we were going to the Bahamas. So I graduated in 2015, and in 2016, yes, me and my children were in the Bahamas. That was my graduation gift to myself and my graduation gift to my kids. So with that being said, you guys, I will be talking to you later, and I will be posting another video soon. Bye. I'll talk to you later.